that word authentic self, I'm not sure if I love it or despise it. I'm not
Yeah,
sure. What do we mean by that? And do you think that everyone has an authentic self?
I think everyone has an authentic self. I think at the core of their being, most people know who they are. Most people don't like who they are. I think that's the problem because they think they should be different. My bottom line for all of my clients, I don't care what they come in for, fear, anxiety, drugs, whatever it might be. I want my clients, one, to understand their worth beyond their car, their house, their clothes, their money. I want to understand their true worth, and I want to get them to a state of unconditional self-love.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I have a wonderful podcast for you today. And I qualified in hypnotherapy almost 10 years ago now. And I often joke and say I technically became a hypnotherapist, but I didn't really learn how to do hypnosis until I studied one of Freddy Jacquin's books, and that's where I've got today. Freddy Jacquin is an absolute legend when it comes to the world of hypnotherapy. And something that I will say about Freddy, who isn't necessarily completely different to the other guests that I've had, but what you see with Freddy is exactly what you get. So the way that he is on camera is exactly the way that he's like off camera. And I was actually a little bit gutted that I didn't get to film and really record some of the conversations we got to have afterwards. But this podcast is absolutely littered full of gems with really the best of what Freddy has learned over the last 30 years of hypnosis. So if you have a fascination in hypnosis, if you want to become a hypnotherapist, if you want to get really a fast track on really getting over the mistakes that most hypnotherapists make, this is absolutely the episode for you. In this, we're going to be speaking about Freddy's books, but also about really one of his also upcoming books. And he was very generous and he laughed at the end and said, basically, I've given most of this book already in this podcast. And so I have no doubt you're going to get tremendous value from it. So without further ado, I cannot wait to introduce to you the guest, Freddy Jacquin. So Freddy, thank you ever so much for coming on. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great, thanks. Thanks for inviting me. Good to meet you.
No, my pleasure. And what I thought we could do by starting, Freddy, is just jumping straight into it. And you might know where I'm going with this question, but I would like to know how much £39 is in today's money. As a guy who was born in the early 90s.
Right. £39. Yeah. Yeah, well, that was like 1994 or whatever.
Yeah.
So what are we on? We're like, is that 30 years on?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, pretty close to 30 years on. I don't know. It's probably, I don't expect it's much more than £150 now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't seem much when you say it. £39. Yeah.
No.
So
and so you probably know where I'm going with this. Maybe you could unpack why that number is insignificant.
When I first started, cigarettes were just under £2 a packet. So that's like 10 times more. I think about 20 quid a packet now.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I spent still reasonable money back then, £39. Yeah.
Yeah. And just for context, that was the amount that you were charging for a smoking cessation.
Yeah.
30 odd years ago.
Yeah.
And you do something interesting around the time as well, which is something that seems to terrify the life out of a lot of hypnotherapists I speak to, which is what was the sign that you had? What were the words that it said that you advertised with?
It was a simple sign, because what happened was I had a sales company, and I was doing that, and I learned how to, well, to be honest with you, the course I did wasn't very good. I'm not going to go into it was or anything else, but the course was all about hypnoanalysis, which was purely a bit of an aversion script. And, and the guy who did it says, you keep people in for 12 weeks, whatever they come in for, they're in for 12 weeks. And I'll say this, because I'm not going to name who the guy was or what company was. He might still be around, sit on the line. But he said this is what he said, because you used to lay people on the couch and all the old kind of Freudian way of working.
Yeah.
And then for weeks taken back for all the rubbish in their life. Anyway, he said, and it's easy to keep people in for 12 weeks, he said, because just before you bring them out of hypnosis, you say, in a moment I'm going to count to 10 or whatever it is, you'll drift back up and you'll find yourself looking forward to our next session where we can continue to work together. Now, they're hypnotized, so if they bite on that suggestion, then of course they're going to be looking forward to seeing you again, which is a terrible way to work. But anyway, so as soon as I came out there, I realised, I started reading about Erickson, I realised there was some really cool ways of helping people to quit smoking and change their life, really. So I just started doing quit smoking, and because I had another stream of income, it really didn't matter to me whether I earned or not, because I just loved doing the hypnosis. Yeah. And I got this little office and on a main road, and my brother had a business a little way along doing T-shirts and kind of clothing marketing and stuff like that. But he had a board outside his shop which was empty. But it was right on the high street, and it was like the commuter traffic used to go past and slow up for an hour every morning past this board, but he had nothing on it. So I said, "Can I borrow your board?" He said, "Yeah." So I had to put a sign on it. It just said "Smoke?" ? Want to quit ? Hypnosis, £39, guaranteed. One session. If you don't quit, I won't charge you. And the strap line was, "What have you got to lose but a habit?" Still a great ad, to be honest with you. Right?
Absolutely. What's the term? It's an offer so good, people feel stupid saying no.
Well, people thought he's either really good or he's mad. One of the two. So either way, I started booking. And before I knew it, I was seeing like 4 or 5, 6 people a day. In fact, at one point, I was booked 6 weeks in advance, 6 people a day. It was a nightmare, to be honest. But then a couple came in and they were late. So I'd normally do the pre-talk, see one person at a time, do a pre-talk, then do the hypnosis. But they came in together, they were a couple. So I sat them down together. I thought, I might as well do the thing together. And they both quit. So my thinking is, if I can hypnotize 2 people, perhaps I need 20 people. If I hypnotize 20 people, maybe 200 people. So from then, I started doing group sessions all around the country. And in 2006, I saw just under 5,000 people for smoking in 1 year, in groups of over 200 people at the time. And the quit rate was immense because I was guaranteed. So I know what the rate was. And, even seeing people at 200 at a time, my quit rate was over 72%. When you compare that to patches, which are 3%.
Yeah. So,
and I still believe to this day, if someone comes to see me, and probably you, because you're a hypnotherapist, and you know this, if they've committed to quitting, I've had enough. As Mike Mandel would say, they're on threshold. I'm sick of it. I've had enough. If they come into my office with that intention, they're going to quit. What we have in the way of hypnosis and the tools we have are phenomenal. And it's still the best way to quit. I don't know if you know, but for the last couple of years, I've been doing some stuff for the College of Medicine and Integrated Health. Every month I've been running this Freddy's Free Friday therapy at 4, right? So they're a charitable company. They're not funded by the government or anything. So it's purely on members. So I suggested them just this week, actually, and I'm having a meeting with them on Friday, that I would do a mass group quit smoking for the College of Medicine. And we've got to talk about it yet, so it's not finalised yet. But my dream, here's a dream, because I've got Zoom 1000, is to get 1,000 people on Zoom call to quit smoking. That's my goal. And I think with enough...
Sorry, Freddie, what's the most that you've done on a Zoom call so far?
I've done group smoking on Zoom. All the group stuff I did was in conference rooms. We have, as you now know, because we're talking on it, this fantastic medium of Zoom. When I train my students, I said, when I started out, I was kind of geographically strapped. If you're in a little village, where do you get your clients from? But now we're not geographically strapped at all. But most of my clients are not from England. They're from America and Australia and all around the world. It's amazing. And in fact, all of our students, we run our training on 3 time zones for the Americas, for the Aussies and the New Zealanders, and for Europe. Yeah. That's the joy of it. And so there's no limit to what we can do with this now. But it took me a long time to get started on Zoom because I just thought it cannot be as effective working online, but it is. It's amazingly effective, So,
how long ago was it before you? Because I still remember to this day my first Zoom consultation. I was bricking it. I was terrified because I thought, can this really
I mean, really, can it work? Yeah, and it was just the beginning of the pandemic.
No, but it probably wasn't much before, I don't know, maybe 2018.
Okay.
I wouldn't have thought, whenever really Zoom came, I tried it on, is it Skype for a while?
Yeah.
And that wasn't particularly good. That, it wasn't robust enough, if you like. And it's nothing worse than the sound breaking down. And I think we went live online with our training at the end of 2019, just before the pandemic anyway. It was really serendipity that we started then. Everyone had to go on Zoom. But no, it's just a great medium, and I think there are no limits now to what you can do. And like, I'm talking to you and I'm like face to face to you. But the thing is, if you've got, hundreds of people on a Zoom call, for every one of those people, you're in front of them. Whereas before, when I was working, a big conference room with 200 people, and people at the back, are trying to see what you're doing. Whereas on Zoom, everyone's got a front row seat. So, yeah, I think it's just a great medium to work on.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I wouldn't mind just rewinding the clock back to something that you mentioned earlier. It was a really important word, which is threshold. And I think that's Mike Mandel's, someone has to change. They realize it's them and it has to happen now. And it has to be a 10 out of 10 for all three.
Yeah. I mean, I say to my clients, they say, I'm fed up with living this. So I say, you fed up enough?
Yes.
Are you fed up enough to do whatever it takes to make it? But that, I remember when I read, I've been working like that for years, but that word, when I saw Mike Mandel say it, I just thought that is the word. And you're at threshold. You're at that point where I've got to change now. And if someone comes in like that, then we know, we have the tools. I have no doubt. If someone walks into my office like that, or needs to be on a Zoom call, and they have had enough, and they said, I'm ready, and they're willing to work with you, because this is a collaboration, as you know. It's not us doing something to them. But if they're ready to work with you, and I go, right, I'm ready to work with you, like, what do we do? Then this is just something, a super powerful tool.
So, and so, do you think? Because I have no idea, and I thought if there's anyone who's going to know, it's Freddy. Do you think it's possible to take someone to threshold as a hypnotherapist, or do you think, obviously that's the place we want them to be in before we start, but do you think it's possible to get someone there if they're maybe an 8 out of 10 and not a 10 out of 10?
Yeah, because I use, but I look for emotional levers. Okay. The thing, when I say about smoking, anyone listens to, I'm probably thinking the same. For me, there are 3 beliefs that hold someone to smoking. And if my client goes out off that call or out of that room with any of those 3 beliefs intact, they're going to start smoking again. The first one is I can't quit. They've tried everything else, but someone can't see a wizard like yourself. They've tried everything else. I've tried the Zyban, I've tried the patches, I've tried the gums. Nothing works. Their belief when they walk in is I can't quit. My first question, I ask all these, for whoever comes in, especially if they're doing something that's detrimental to them, killing themselves. So I say, who are the most important people in life? It's a kind of simple question I ask. Who do you love most? My wife, my kids, my granddaughter, whatever. And I'll write those names down. And then that first belief, we talk, I ask the questions why they want to quit and all that kind of stuff. And then we get into it and I talk about the people I've seen. And these are true. I've seen people with their eye out because of smoking. I've seen people with their tongue and their jaw off and their leg off. I've seen all those people, lungs out. And I talk about it. And I just say, but that's never stopped anyone smoking. Knowing these things never stopped anyone smoking. And then I get into this. And I just say, if you've been to your doctor yesterday, said have another cigarette, you die. So the chance you quit in a minimal. And I've seen over 25,000 people for smoking. Every one of those people have nodded when I ask that question. Because it's true, they know that smoking is killing them. Unless they're particularly stupid, they're going to know that smoking ultimately is going to kill them. It's going to kill them in a bad way. So when I ask that question, I say, if you've been to your doctor yesterday, you said have another cigarette, you die. I say the chance you quit in a minimal. And they nod. Then I said, but you have to ask the question. If you went to your doctor yesterday, said, have another cigarette and your boy Bobby would die, I say, you quit, would you not? No one said, no, I wouldn't quit. And I was like, not one person. if I bring their grandchild into it, I bring their son into it, their daughter or their wife or their boyfriend or whatever it might be, everyone's going to go, I'd quit. I said, have you got any doubt? They go, no, my kid's life depended, but I'd quit. In that moment, that first belief, I can't quit, gone. They can still go out and smoke, but they no longer believe they can't quit. I'm just going to turn my phone off. Sorry.
Sure.
Thought it was off. Sorry.
That's right. And so when someone comes out of hypnosis, if that belief still feels like it could be intact, is there a backup or another process that you use afterwards? Is there any tapping or anything like that that you
I don't use any other process other than hypnosis in my work. I'm sure people do have results and stuff like that, but for me, I don't think we need it. If you get hypnosis right, I know it sounds a big thing to say, because there are so many other ways, other modalities of working. But for me, I just think if you use emotion in hypnosis, then that person's going to have a result. Who are the most important people in your life, Scott?
And so immediately they come to mind. I'm pausing for a second, Freddie, because no one's actually ever asked me that before. It's an interesting question. And the people that come to mind immediately would be, it'd be my partner, Sarah. It would be my best friend, Mike. Those are the two people who immediately come to mind of.
Yeah. Those to me. Just put your arm out in front of you like this, to shoulder height. Right, and look at me in the camera. Think about Sarah. Think about Mike. Think about friendship with your mate. Think about that girl you love. Feel that love right now. As you feel that love, Scott, I want you to notice your arms hanging there all by itself. Imagine there's nothing you can do about that. When you realise there's nothing you can do about it, I want you to try and get your arm down and find you cannot. But I don't want you to pretend. Push as hard as you can. Try and get your arm down, Scott. Put some effort. Come on, you're a strong man. Put some effort in. Harder, you try and get it down. All right, let's go. Put some effort in. Come on. Are you hypnotised? Are you in a trance? Why can't you get your arm down? Push even harder. Why it goes even higher? I'm going to snap my fingers. I'm going to say the word love. Your arm will drift down. Your eyes will close for a split second. When I open, you'll realise the power of emotion, the power of love. Love. I'm drifting down. Now, where's the hypnosis in this? So you understand just how loved you are. Right. Totally in your understanding just how loved you are and how incredible you are. Eyes opening. Now, where's the hypnosis in this stuff? I was in Hypno Thoughts Live, and there's 150 people in that conference room. I just said to the whole room, and I've been there for about 3 minutes, and I said, just think about the people you love. I notice you're stuck in your chair and you can't stand up. A whole room of people could not get out of their chair. I said, where's the hypnosis? Where's the deeper? Where's the 10 times counting down from 10? Where's any of that stuff you've learned? None of that stuff is of any consequence once you understand this piece of information, Scott. So when I say to someone who's smoking or killing herself with drugs or alcohol or anything else or eating themselves to death, when I say think about a person you love, as you feel that love, the need for blah, blah, blah is gone. That's no different from me say, think about Sarah and your arm stuck in the air. It's the mind is so set up. So for me, if I can create an emotion, I know how to, then that person's not walking out of that room feeling the same. My bottom line for all of my clients, I don't care what they come in for, fear, anxiety, drugs, whatever it might be. I want my clients, one, to understand their worth beyond their car, their house, their clothes, their money. I want to understand their true worth, and I want to get them into a state of unconditional self-love. Because why would you bother to quit smoking if you don't love yourself? Why would you bother to treat yourself to the body you want if you don't love yourself? Why would you quit anything if you don't love yourself? So for me, at some point with my clients, I'm going to get into that state. I'm going to understand their worth and their value.
And Freddie, what do you think is happening in the brain now? I know some people don't know, some people don't frankly care. They just like getting the result. Do you have an idea as to what's occurring? Why just eliciting that emotion and then planting that suggestion does that?
Well, if you think about, this is just all of this stuff is only my theory, okay? My opinions. Because I'm not a scientific person. My son is. I mean, he's read every book. I mean, if you could quote you chapter and verse on anything to do with hypnosis, he's brilliant. But I think if you think about any strong memory you have, there will be a strong emotion attached to it. If you've had first time you met Sarah, you probably remember that moment. Things like that, where you can still remember when you first saw her, because there was a strong emotion. So I think how we remember is connected to how we feel. Whether that's a shock, like a dog bites you and you feel the pain and everything clicks on and you remember that for the rest of your life. Anything that looks like that, be afraid. And it's the same with a positive emotion. And if we want to remember something, I travel with my son all over the world training people, and we have this little competition wherever we go, whether it's Brazil, whether it's India, whether it's wherever we go. We try and learn as much language as we can before we go to see who's best at it. We normally have like 2 or 3 months, and so I learn by Audible with this thing called Pimsleur, which is an audio for any language. It will do it. But my thinking, anyone can try this to see if it works. If I want to remember something, then I think about, I might think about one of my sons, or I think about, someone I love, and I'll get into that heightened, positive emotional state, and then I'll listen to the words. Because I think, just for me, I think there's something happens. We talk about the critical factor, don't we, of faculty. No one knows what it's like. I've just written in my book, no one's said one, no one's held one in hand, a bit like the mind. I think what happens is until the age of about 16, if you think when we're 2 or 3, 4 years old, we don't know the difference between truth and lies. If someone says that a man comes down the chimney in a red suit, it's Father Christmas, we believe that. Even if we haven't got central heat, we haven't got a chimney, we still believe that someone comes down the chimney. Because someone tells us it. Why would they lie? We don't know what lying is. But over the first few years of our life, maybe about 15, 16, we learn that people do tell lies, and there are untruths. And nature's given us this kind of protective mechanism which defends us against lies, flattery, suggestion, sales. I like to think of it like a tight kind of wire mesh over your brain, over your mind. And so I could suggest something to you and it can just bounce off. But whatever happens, if I can spike an emotion, if I can make you laugh, if I upset you, it's going to, for a split second, only a small window of opportunity where in that moment, when I know I've created an emotion, I can give a suggestion that goes straight in without any defense. Yeah. I think it's just a natural animal thing, I think it is. It's like that moment the rabbit's caught in the headlights, it's like that.
Yes.
That moment. It's only a split moment before if given it long enough, it'll run off again. But in that moment when it sees the lights, it's gone, the snake with the mongoose and the snake kind of thing, where it just freezes for a moment. So I think we're tapping into that natural ability we had. But in that moment, that defense mechanism's not there.
So it's interesting. I've never thought about it like that before. When you're truly just being present in emotion, there's actually no real need to think. So there's no reason for that critical faculty to be there.
Yeah.
I've never thought about that. That's really, really interesting. I must have, with on the line of feelings, Freddie, I've got to ask you, what is the difference between confidence, apathy, and not giving a shit ability?
Right, okay. This is my word. I'm in a workshop on it, as you probably know. It's not, so I was asked that question by Melissa Tears after the London conference one day. I'd done my presentation. She said, can I interview for a podcast? And she said, how much of what you do is just pure confidence? And I said, I don't think it's confidence. I think it's a not give a shit ability. In other words, it's how I live my life, Scott. being honest with you. I try and be as kind as I can be. I try and be as pleasant as I can be. And that's it. You know, some people, and you know, I'm a man, so I mess up all the time, truly. But yeah, people are going to judge that. But I think I'm a decent person. I do my utmost. The people who know me know me. I don't have to explain to everyone who I am or what I do. And so the people who really matter to me, they know who I am. And if they're still in my life, they're in my life. But I can't go around trying to tell people who don't get me that I'm okay. You know, I'm not going to do it because I'm just going to live my life. In other words, I do my utmost. I try and be as kind as I can be. I do my best work. You know, I want people to be the best they can be. And then I leave it at that. And a not give a shit ability it's an awesome space to be in. It's a space where you drop judgment of others and you let go of any fear of judgment of yourself. And it's not an easy place to be, because instinctively we tend to worry about what other people think. But I've been saying this for a while now. The two major problems that human beings have, one is expecting too much of ourselves. And then when we don't match up to our own expectation, we beat ourselves up. So that's the big problem for most people, because we're expecting too much of ourselves. And the second one is mind reading. They must be thinking out of me. She'll be thinking this of me. He'll be thinking out of me. As I have to say to most of my clients, trust me, they're not thinking about you because they've got their own shit to worry about. Most people are so caught up in their own stuff. They're not worrying about what you did yesterday, or how you messed up a week ago, or what you said, you know, stupidly a few weeks back. Not thinking about that. And yet we get caught up in living our lives like that, you know, worrying about what people think. So once you get past worrying about what other people think of you, stop judging other people. Stop worrying about being judged yourself. That is, I'll tell you, it's an awesome space to be in. You have to continue to work at being in that space, because you every now and then get caught up in it. But then you have to remind yourself, you know, and bring yourself back to, am I doing my best? Am I living my truth? Am I being my authentic self? Whatever that is, good or bad, you know, because that's who you are. And we can pretend. And that's what the problem is for most people. They're living their life, and they're going home, and they're doing that post-mortem because they think they haven't been living their truth. So, yeah, I forget what the question was now. What's the confidence and not give a shit ability?
Yeah, no, you certainly answered it, Freddie. I've got to ask you, because that word authentic self, I'm not sure if I love it or despise it. I'm not sure. What do we mean by that? And do you think that everyone has an authentic self?
I think everyone has an authentic self. I think at the core of their being, most people know who they are. Most people don't like who they are. I think that's the problem, because they think they should be different. Because there's society and society's rules, and there's our nature. So we're always fighting those two things, I think. You know, what we feel we want to do, or what we're feeling, and what we're supposed to be doing. And so that's why so much stuff is like, you know, is underground. And if it's underground, then people are worrying about not being honest about themselves. And then I say, this is who I am, you know. So I think that's what I'm talking about, being your authentic self.
Because I think sometimes so many people get dragged into the stories of society, we know that better than most, that they forget how to even find that. And for someone listening who's been asking themselves that question, I don't know who I am, how do I find myself? There's the joke that a lot of people go on a gap year and they find out 7,000 miles away they're actually a bit of a knobhead. And so how does someone go about starting that journey of finding their authentic self, do you think?
I think it's just about asking the questions about the story you're telling yourself, and the story that the story you're telling other people about you, or the persona you're giving off to everybody else, and the person you are when you're on your own, you know, in your own space. Because we all know we are. You know, we can try and be a better person, but then that's just a comparison to who? Better than what? Compared to who? You know, so I think maybe it's an age thing. Maybe it's because I've got to this age where I am in a space where I really don't care what people think. I do my best. You know, I hope people like my stuff. You know, I was speaking to a lady in New Zealand, one of my students, and she was talking about my books, and she said, you know, I feel I've got these books, I can write these books. She said, but I'm not sure it would be any good, and I'm concerned what people would think about them. I said, I don't care. I so enjoy writing books. I don't care if they're, you know, any good. I don't care. You know, if people enjoy them, they enjoy them. I left school at 15. In fact, last 3 years of my school, I was playing pinball in some nightclub. I didn't even go to school for the last 3 years. So I haven't got that education, but I speak as I speak. I write as I speak. And if people get me, they get me. I'm not going to try and be, you know, yes, I don't want, you know, that to be really poor. The language has been very poor. But on the other hand, I'm gonna write as I speak. And people who like it will like it, and the people who don't. My question to her was, are you enjoying the process? Even if two people buy the book, doesn't matter if you've had the enjoyment of writing a book and doing the process. You know, I'm writing a fancy book with a friend in America, and we get on Google Docs together, and I can sit and I can watch her writing. It's amazing to watch her thought on a page. We've written like 200,000 words. We still haven't finished that book. So when are you going to finish? I don't really care. I don't care if it goes on for another 3 years, because I love the process. You know, am I enjoying my life? Am I enjoying what I'm doing? It's with the hypnosis, it's the same. You know, when people say about how many other people would suggest to a room of people they're stuck in a chair, because what they're afraid of, what if they all stand up? How am I going to feel? If they all stand up, I'm going to look stupid. I'm past that. And that's why people get stuck in a chair.
Well, that therefore, because some people would consider that a superpower of yours, right? That idea of just saying, I don't care, I'm just having fun at this point. Is that something that felt fairly innate to you? Have you always been that way, or was that something that you had to tailor and train?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm like everybody else. You know, I would have been concerned if, you know, you go for some phenomena, you know, you're stuck to the ground, and they go, no, I'm not. You know, you're hypnotized, no, I'm not. You know, all those things that we dread.
Yeah.
That would have affected me at one point, but now I just go, oh, that's interesting. Now, people, my students say, what if you suggest their arm's stuck in the air and it goes down? What do I do then? I say, just say it's interesting. That's it. Yeah. You know, no one died, did they? You know, you just get on with it. And I just think, you know, yes, I love it, but this is the most, I call it serious fun, Scott, because we are helping people change their lives. Yeah. You know, that is the joy of it. You know, we take someone out of a drug problem or a fear they've had forever, or pain, you know, that is, for me, the most miraculous thing. Yeah. You know, because it took me a long time to even think, it wasn't part of my remit to help people out of pain. But when you can see someone who's been in pain or chronic pain for years, and in 5 minutes, they're out of pain. I had a meeting with, last week, I did a presentation at Don Free's house, one of the King's properties.
Yeah.
To the royal doctors. And I said to them, anyone in a room in pain, these are the top men in the country. You know, they're very, very, you know, experienced and brilliant men and women. I said, anyone in pain, physical or emotional, stand up. 40 people stood up. I ran the arrow technique with them while they're standing up. I said, if the pain's gone or drastically reduced, sit down. 5 minutes. And I'm saying to these doctors, you know, because doctors will say in the past, I haven't got time to do hypnosis, 25 minutes to hypnotize someone, I've got a 5-minute appointment. Mm-hmm. I'm saying, if you're giving your patients maximum painkillers, it's not touching the pain anymore. Well, you don't even have to use the word hypnosis. You can just say, let me try this technique. Yeah. And I think ultimately that's what I want to do. And these people in this room are blown away. And I stuck someone in a chair, one of these doctors in a chair. that's, for me, I doubt anyone else to do it, because if you fail at that, what if you fail? That's why people won't do it. How am I going to look in front of these incredible medical people? So what?
With that, Freddie, just because it's the most, apart from when you had to do the handshake interruption for the first time, I'd say that you coming up with the arrow technique is probably the most Freddy Jacquin story ever. So if you could run us through that story of when you first did it, that would be wonderful.
Right, when I was doing these groups for quit smoking, and I'd go to Llanelli on a Thursday, Swansea on a Friday, and then Cardiff on a Saturday. And over those 3 days, I would see maybe 600 people for smoking and maybe 200 people for weight loss in those 3 days. And I was doing that like every 6 weeks. I'd go back and I'd say, if anyone, and I was leaving, I think it was Cardiff, I said, if anyone wants to come see me for something, I'm going back in 6 weeks. It won't be for smoking because you're all done. So if you want to come back or anything else. So this woman put her hand up. She said, can you do anything with pain? And at that point, Scott, I'd never done anything with pain, but I had no idea that I could run something. I'd read about Erickson, and Erickson had this, he was a genius. And he understood. If you ask someone on the street what hypnosis is, they'd probably say it's relaxation or sleep, because that's what you see on stage. That's most people's perception is, because we even ask people to relax and go, like, don't we? Looks like sleep. So they'll say it's relaxation or sleep. But if you've got someone who's in terrible pain and you say, close your eyes and relax, that's like ludicrous. So the other way of hypnotizing people, not a one way to hypnotize people, is getting the focus. So I don't know if you've ever done the hand to eye induction, where you say, focus on a spot on your hand as it moves towards your eye and your ear, right?
Yeah.
So he would use the pain itself as the focus of attention, just for a moment, focus on the pain and go to the very center of that pain, a hot spot. So I had this idea in my mind about this focusing on the center of the pain. And I'd also, for years, I had suffered from kidney stones. And before I even done hypnosis or even learned hypnosis, my way of getting away from the pain was to go to this really powerful memory I had of a trip I had to France with a girlfriend. And we stopped on the way down to this place called Aubusson on the side of the road, and we had a picnic. So I'd go to that memory, and I think, what was the colour of her shorts? What's the number plate on her car? What kind of bread was it? What kind of beer was it? And the more I had to dig into the detail of the memory, the further away I got from the pain, if you understand. Because I'm thinking about having to focus on something else. And it got to the point where I could just step into my body in that state. And at that point, I was free for the pain, but trying to hold that for any length of time. But it did give you some relief for seconds or a minute or whatever. So those two things were on my mind. I figured I could put them together, but I'd never done it. So this woman said, can you do anything with pain? And I said, well, yeah. I said, but don't wait another 6 weeks. You wait till we finish. I'll help you. And so this other woman was there, and she was on crutches. She's got spondylosis. Only in her 30s. So she said, can I stay? I said, of course. By the time we seen all these people there, anyway, there was these two women. The woman on crutches, she had a little boy of 4, and her auntie was there. And this other woman had a pain in her hip. Her friend was there. So I ran what we now call the arrow. I didn't even have a name for it. And they're both sitting in the chair like this. This is 5 minutes tops, right? So the woman at the crutch, her hands came down, showing her eyes. Said, where's the pain gone now? But the thing was, Scott, even though I'd never done it before, I ran it as if I'd done it 1,000 times. Right? It was no, we'll try it. Let's see if this works. No, in a moment, that pain's going to be gone. So I ran it, and the woman at the crutches, she put her hands down. I looked at her, I said, where's the pain gone? She said, I haven't got any pain. So she stands up and she says, do you think I can walk without my crutches? So I'm saying, I'm not a medical person. She said, hold them. So she's got these crutches and she's walking towards me, and she looks, kind of tentatively walking towards me. And I said, are you in pain? She said, no. Well, I haven't walked without crutches for 12 years. Right? So, yeah, I know. And this book, then the other woman, she opens her eyes, she starts crying. And I said, are you all right? She said, yeah, but I haven't got any pain. I've been in pain for 9 years. No pain. And I'm trying not to look too amazed, like I've done it forever. That's
it.
And I say to my students, I'm sure you're the same when you work with pain. When the client says, I've got no pain, I said the hardest part of this technique is trying not to look too amazed. Yeah. when they say the pain's gone, for the first time you do it, and they go, "I haven't got any pain." You're like, really? You don't want to be doing that, you know.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so the woman, she said, "I've got this MRI scan coming up. You think I should have it?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, it'll be nice to walk in there without any pain. She said, "I will." And I swear, Scott, she put her crutches under her arm, took a little boy's hand, which she never walked with him before because she'd been on crutches his whole life, and walked out his conference room. And there was this guy, Mark Thomas, who was like working with me down there. And he said, Jesus. That's where it looked like. Pick up your bed and walk. Amazing.
It was amazing.
Aim for it then. And my son, who I work with, we ran this training, and it was a kind of giveaway at the end. I did all our diploma stuff, but for years it was like, well, let me show you. If I've got time, I'll show you this pain control thing. And my son Anthony, for 10 years, he would walk out of a room. Don't say there's not going to be any pain. What if they're in pain? He was so scared of me being embarrassed that he'd walk out of a room. But he'd come back in, and someone with a bad leg that is stomping their foot on the ground. In the end, he kind of accepted that this thing works, and it does. And it's just the most incredible, simple tool, but it works so well. Have you tried it yourself?
Yes. Yeah, very much so. It was one of the first things I did after I did your book.
Yeah.
It was right. I've got to give it a go, and it's wonderful. I've got to ask, maybe because I'm falling on Anthony's side here of thinking, okay, is there a backup? Is there because I go in all out, but I don't have that many backups. So after, that's interesting. Do you have another avenue that you take if something that hasn't quite hit the spot in the way that you know that it could?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to suggest, we'll say that there are, like Anthony says, sometimes we need more work. Sometimes, we need to explain stuff better. And there are times when it's just miraculous. There's those three things. So you've got to be prepared for all those things. I want, like when I see people with pain or fear, I want it to be a zero. Is it a zero all the time? No, but it's a zero more often because I act as if it's going to be than if I say, right, I'm going to try this thing with a bit of luck, wind behind us, we might get that pain down. That's not going to work, all right? I just act as if I say, in a moment, the pain will be gone. When you leave it today, the need for a cigarette will be gone. That fear will be gone. I don't, and people say, well, why do you promise that, Freddie, when you know that it's not going to be 100%? But I'm going to get a much bigger percent of people getting results because I act as if it is. I will take it on the chin. And if it doesn't work, they say, no, it's gone down to 4 or 5. We can either work on it again, and if there are some things, and I'd like to think of them as like personal development things, confidence and fearlessness and public speaking. I mean, the fear I expect to be gone, but the confidence. So there are ways of working. My business model for the first 25 years, in fact, it's pretty much the same now, to be honest with you, is a terrible business model because I'd say you're going to be free of this today. I can't bring myself to say it's going to be 4 sessions, it's going to be 12 sessions. I can't bring myself to say because I know if they come in at threshold, I can help them in that day. But it's not good. It's not a good business model. I've seen over 35,000 people, Scott, once. If I'd seen those 35,000 people 5 times, I'd be talking to you from my yacht.
But it's a weird one. It's weird because I do say that I think I stole it from Mike Mandel. That it's the closest thing to magic that you get to see sometimes. And on the flip side of that, it's sad because there's the rule: nothing phases the hypnotist. So all these amazing things happen. You go, yeah, and it's only afterwards you go, Jesus, what the hell happened there, right? Is that the most miraculous thing you've seen in your career? Of someone literally walking out, because Freddie, that's one hell of a story. Right, it's one hell of a memory dividend to live off. But are there any others that come to mind of the most? I'd be curious to know the most miraculous, but also the weirdest thing you've ever seen with hypnosis.
Well, I think you've seen that story in my book about the guy with a phobic foot. I mean, I was like,
Was he going under the bridges or something?
he couldn't drive
Over the bridges.
He approached the bridge, his foot would not go down on the pedal. So that was one of those strange things. I think I'd read something about. I think of Tony Robbins. I'd read somewhere where he spoke to someone's leg or something, or he took someone came in paralyzed. He took paralysis out of one leg and left them with one leg paralyzed, and brought them back next week, swapped the paralysis over or something like that.
It might have been Bandler, I think. Yeah,
Banner. Yeah, some one of those nutty story. So I don't even know why I said it, because I always do past negotiation. I always run unconscious communication, and normally it would be like, you know, the hands going up and whatever it might be. But in this case, I just said, I'm going to speak to your foot, and my foot twitched, and he like, can you imagine what it's like for him? It's like, I can't stop his foot twitching. So there, you know, I love this stuff. I love it, and you know, yeah. I mean, I can't. You know, when I first did, I was at a London conference when I first did a group pain control, and my son, I'd done 3 demos of the arrow, and each time I said anyone wants to be a demo something, like half a dozen hands went up. So I don't know why I said it. I said, I'm not letting anyone out of this room in pain, right? And the girl at the back's going, you've got 10 minutes. And so I said, look, I promise you, I'm not letting anyone else room in pain. And my son at the back's going, you've had a really good presentation. Don't do this, you're going to mess it up, right? So I've got everyone standing up in this conference room. And I thought a dozen people would stand up. And the room stood up, maybe over 130 people stood up. And I said to them, have a look around this room, because if this is a percentage of people in pain in the world, then you know where your business is coming from. I ran the arrow. I said, anyone's pain's gone or drastically reduced, sit down. Well, 2 people standing up. The girl at the back, Scott, you've got 3 minutes. So I said, you two. Did the arrow again with these 2 people, pain's gone. So that was, those moments are great, you know. But yeah, for me, whenever you help someone out of pain, it is miraculous. I was decorating. I had an office when I was in East Yorkshire, and I was decorating myself. So 3 days, and we were having this opening day on a Saturday. So by Friday, I'd pretty much finished it, but I hadn't had a shave for 3 days. I had a jumper on, this was like splattered with paint, and anyway, I had this pain in my side. And my wife, who's a nurse, she said, I'm going to take you to the hospital because let's not mess around. I'd gone grey. And I'd had these kidney stones. She said, we're not messing around, let's take you to the hospital. Friday night in Hull. So you imagine what the A&E's like. It's like, you know, people stab wounds, people sitting there like packed out. 4-hour wait. So I'm sitting with my wife, and a guy sitting next to me, he's in agony. And he's walking up and down, he's almost crying. And I heard him say to the guy next to him, he's got this, he said, he's in pain with his back. That's right. He's in pain with his back. When he was 12, he had a rugby injury. He's 35. He's got 5 kids. He hadn't worked for 2 years because of this back problem. And he's in agony. He said, but he's not in hospital. This is what he's saying to the guy next to him. And I'm just here with you. He says, and I'm not here for my back. He says, the pills I've been taking, painkillers have destroyed my stomach lining. So I'm here to get some pills to help me with my stomach. So I said to my wife, I'm going to have to help him out of this pain. She said, you can't. He's in A&E. You can't just go walking around helping people out of pain. I said, well, he's just said he's not here for his back pain. He's accepted that. He's here for his stomach. So I turned to this guy, and honestly, Scott, I looked like a homeless man. You know, I hadn't had a shave for 3 days, got pain on me. And I said to him, do you want to be free of the pain? He's like, looked at me and said, I was drunk.
Yeah, what's this guy on? Yeah.
As you would do, you know? So I said, do you want to be free of the pain? He went, what do you mean? I said, let me show you something interesting. And I just did a finger lock on him. So he's sitting in the chair like this. And I said, open your eyes, look at your hands. He's trying to get his hands undone. And I said, in a moment, I'm going to touch your hand. I'm going to touch your hand. You're going to feel this electric shock of energy go through your body. Your hands will come unstuck, and every ounce of that pain is going to be gone. Right? So I looked at him, and he's sitting in the chair looking at me like this. So he went, fuck, what did you just do? I said, where's the pain gone? Well, I haven't got any pain. Okay, so this is a minute and a half in a packed A&E place, right? And he's standing up and he's on the phone to his wife. So I'm just sitting next to this guy. So I gave him my phone. I don't normally do it. I gave him my phone. So can you just, say what happens? And he's on my YouTube. You see him. His name's Barry Smith. But the look of bewilderment on this guy's face. I've just sat next to this guy called Freddy, and he's like done these couple of things on me. I mean, that's like crazy stuff. It's like miraculous stuff.
It's amazing. And I know you touched, I think, very briefly in your first book about the idea of healing, of actual healing. It's been a while since I read the book, Freddie, so I'm going off of a memory from about 5 years ago, but was it quantum healing?
Yeah, I call it quantum. My son says I should use the word quantum because it's like a scientific word and I don't understand it. But it's how it came to me, all right? And I don't even know where this story came from. But apparently there was a guy back in the 1930s or 40s and he was working on splitting the atom. One of those brain boxes, Oppenheimer or whatever his name ended out there, right? Wasn't him, I doubt. But so if someone was working on splitting the atom, so working with quantum physics, and the universe is put together with atoms, and our body's put together with cells. So this guy, apparently, whether this is story, whether this is myth, but it's how it came to me. He'd studied hypnosis, and his wife had varicose veins. So he thought, why not apply the same quantum theory as you do to the universe, to his wife's body? The universe is made up of atoms, his wife's body's made up of cells. So he hypnotized her, and he set up a communication, unconscious communication, and then he asked if he could communicate directly with every cell of her body and ask those cells to reconnect the communication that will allow her veins to go back to normal. Now, apparently, this is true, whether it's a myth, he had photographic proof that that happened. So my thinking is this, because I don't believe I do anything in the therapy realm. I have one ability, and that is a learn ability to help my client get in touch with their own ability to change. I don't change them. And we have a natural ability to heal. But sometimes through stress, through environment, through all kinds of different things, there's a breakdown in the communication between those cells. When, like, you've got 70 trillion cells in your body, and all that makes you what you are, hair color, eye color, skin color, makes you the unique individual on a planet of 8 billion people, is a unique communication between those 70 trillion cells. Now, when those cells are communicating perfectly, you are perfectly healthy. But as I said, through environment, through emotion, through different things, sometimes there's a breakdown in that communication. When that happens, you get what I call a dis-ease. So I just run, and you see it in my book, I just run this simple, like a parts negotiation. And I just take them into hypnosis, and then I ask if I can communicate directly with the part of them that's responsible for their immune system. I get an unconscious, honest signal. Then I ask that part of them if it will allow me to communicate directly with every cell, and then I'll get a signal. Then I ask those cells to reconnect communication that will allow that healing to begin. And people get better. I don't know. Is it like Irving Kirsch says, it's just a mega non-deceptive placebo? I don't know. My clients don't care. And that's why I don't dig too much into the science of it. There is a person out there trying to figure out what hypnosis is. They spent 30 years doing this research on what is hypnosis, why does it work. In that 30 years, Scott, I'd helped over 35,000 people, and I don't know what it is. That's my thinking on it. So we do need scientists to try and, but how do you prove a phenomenon?
Yeah, it's a difficult one.
There's lots of people out there. If something on evidence-based, if it's not evidence-based, I'm not going to do it. But the problem with evidence-based is this. With hypnosis, we use hypnosis, we use imagination, don't we? We help that client, use their imagination to make those changes. But the imagination is created by the mind. We agree, do we?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But no one's seen a mind. No one's held a mind in their hand. If you ask a brain surgeon if they've got a mind, they'll go, yeah. And if you say, where is it? Probably go like that. But no one's actually held a mind in their hand. The mind is only a concept created, guess what, by our imagination.
Mm.
So if the mind is a creation of our imagination, and hypnosis uses imagination. If you've seen a dog chasing its own tail, that's how it is to explain hypnosis.
Yeah.
The mind, the hypnosis uses imagination. The imagination is created by the mind, and the mind is created by our imagination.
So you just want to get in that cycle somewhere to start changing it.
For me, it's great. And I was at who's the guy who runs the conference now in London?
It's not Glenn Rotman.
I don't know what's gone from my mind. I'm
going to kick myself later.
Adam. Anyway, I know he's going to be really upset about it. I can't remember his name now, but he asked me to go down and speak to his school. He's in Bournemouth. Adam Easton,
yeah. This is self-hypnosis. I literally went to a lecture of his a couple of months ago. That's annoying.
But he asked me to go and do a presentation for his students. This was like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer, 7, 8 years ago. And I'm there, and he teaches, at that point, he was teaching kind of very NLP kind of, and language patterns and all the kind of clever stuff that goes along with all that stuff. So I'm down there, and one of the students said, how important do you think language patterns are in hypnosis? And I said, I think it's interesting. I said, if you really know what you do, you can do this. And I looked at her, she's like 5th row back. I just looked at her, and when she blinked, I blinked. When she blinked, I blinked. I slowed my blinking down. I hadn't said a word. I said, where's the language?
Yeah.
Where's the language patterns? You know, if your intention's there, your intention, your expectation, you know, that's, so I love it. I love the fact that, you know, people look into this stuff and they dig into it. Honestly, you've seen me, I just go and do this stuff. I don't find it complex. I don't think it's complex. I think change is easy. I think it's just getting our own self out of the way. We were talking earlier about not give a shit ability. That's pretty much the same thing. It's getting our own part of our brain that's worrying about what other people are thinking, worrying about tomorrow. Get that out of the way for a while.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same when I do my hypnosis. I think it's easy to help people change. We've just got to get them out of their own way. And how we get them out of our own way is by, one, showing them their real worth and value, and then creating an emotion that's going to open their mind up for a moment so we can feed back what they want.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Freddie, I'm mindful of your time, so I've just got a couple of quick fire questions, if that's okay. Although,
you know, what I say to people, starting me up is one thing, Scott. Shutting me up is something else. So you have to keep finding the time, because I don't know. So go on.
Okay, no. Well, to be fair, I'm in not a huge rush, but I'm having a good time. I have to know what your answers are to these, otherwise it'd eat me up. With having seen over 35,000 people, I don't know how many hypnotherapists you've trained now, but it must be hundreds at this point, if not thousands. What do you think nowadays in the area of hypnotherapy? What do you think are the biggest, maybe most common, but certainly the biggest mistakes that you think most hypnotherapists are making?
Well, one, I think they're thinking that somehow they have to come up with a strategy to help the client. You know, in any other therapy, it's about listening to your client, trying to figure out why they are like they are, and then coming up with a strategy for change. That's the biggest problem. I start, and I like my students to think the same way, I start with the belief that the only person in the therapy situation that has the answers to the problems and the ability to overcome them is the person in the therapy chair, not my chair. So it makes it easy for me. It makes it dead easy for me. It doesn't matter what a person walks in with. I don't have to know the ins and outs of that problem. I don't have to know the ins and outs of their past. I mean, there's so many, it's the backbone, there's so many therapies, the regression to cause. I think it's the most painful way of dealing with something. And I told you, I trained with hypnoanalysis. That was the pre-runner of RTT and everyone else, the other regression. And it's a financially a very good way to work, because you're going to keep your client in therapy for a long while. But I don't think I think it's a very, personally, I think it's a very painful, poor way to work. Yeah. Because what I say to my clients, anyone that listens to me, that nothing's real. And they say, well, that's ridiculous. I can touch my computer. Of course that's real. My desk. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, when we think about our past, it's not exactly as it was, because our memory's not 100%. And even if it was, there's nothing we can do about the past. The past is a vacuum. It's a void that stretches back to the Big Bang. Even what I've just said over this last hour is now in that void. Could have been the most ridiculous thing. It's in that void. There's no point in me going home and thinking, what did I say that for? What did I say that? It's not the point. So that's not real. The past is not real. The future hasn't happened yet. So it can only be imagined. That's not real either. There is only this moment we're living in. But most therapies are focused on the anxiety about what people are worrying about, or they're worrying about, or they're focused on what made that person like they are, what created that. And I always sit with my clients, so I don't want to be rude to my clients. And they're going to, especially if they've been in counselling or other kind of therapies, they're going to sit and going to tell me what they are like they are. I don't want to go, I'm not interested, but I'm going to sit for a few moments and I'm going to say, it's really interesting to know. It might be interesting to know why you are like you are, but it's really of no consequence to me, because we have a tool called hypnosis that can take you from where you are now to where you want to be, and we can do it very rapidly. If I want to spend the next 3 or 4 weeks listening to all the crap in your life, then I'm going to earn more money out of you.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you're going to have the next cigarette that kills you going to be next week. So I want you to stop today. I don't want you to going out with that fear. I want you to be over it today. I was saying this to someone yesterday. I think it was Channel 4, one of the TV companies said, we'd like you to do a series on phobias for a channel, whatever it was. North One TV it was. So I came down to London. They took me on top of the building. They filmed me walking around and listening to me. You look great. You sound great. Come down to the conference room. There's all these producers and directors around this conference room. We're going to do a series on the fear of flying. I said, okay, great. They said, what are you actually going to do? I said, well, look, anyone who's got a phobia? They said, yeah, I've got a fear of water. Okay. Did the thing. 5 minutes later, so where's the fear gone? I said, I'm going to fear. I said, how can we make a series out of
that? Yeah.
How can we make a series out of that? I'll shot myself in the foot. I should have said, well, I'm going to take you to the airport and then we're going to show you a few planes flying the shit out of you. Then we're going to show you the engines. Then we're going to do this for the next 3 weeks. And then eventually we're going to get you on a plane. And that's what the guy who actually got the job did. Right, but yeah, I shot myself in the foot because I have no doubt. It doesn't matter how many people are in front of me with a phobia. You might have seen it on the thing I did back in 2011. I think it's Change Phenomena. If they're there and they're ready to let go of that fear, they're going to be free of that fear. Yeah. The hard part of working with people with phobias is trying to make that last for an hour. Yeah. Someone comes in, they're paying you reasonable money. You say, look at me. Do this. Where's the fear gone now? Yeah. Hold on a minute. That's like, charge me £50 a minute here. It's
Do you find, Freddie, I find that the better the results that I see with people, the more underwhelming it seems to be for them. I don't know if you found that. It's only something that I've started to come across the last couple of years where it's not that they don't have anxiety anymore. They don't even resonate as an anxious person. And they start to doubt that they were really that anxious beforehand.
Look,
they think, did I really come in?
That's why. I don't know if you do it, Scott. There are 2 things I Simpson scale. One is pain, one is fear. Right, so I'll say on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is that fear now? Imagine you've got a spider on your lap. Where is it? It's a 10, okay? the reason I do that is because exactly what you said. We can remember being in pain, but once the pain's gone, we can't remember what it felt like. It's the same with fear. So I'm always going to symptom scale it at the front. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is that? Because when they open their eyes and I say, where's the pain gone now? I say it's a 0. They have that memory. Because if they don't, they're going to go out and think, well, I can't even remember having a pain. So I will always, if it's smoking, any other drug problem, anything else, I give my client amnesia. I want it to be 3 days later when they suddenly realise they haven't had a cigarette. I want it to be 5 years from now when they realise they haven't been afraid of spiders for 5 years, or whatever it might be. You know, I want them because and like you said, just underwhelming, because I say that smoking is totally unnatural. If anything other than oxygen in our lungs is unnatural. So when we quit smoking, it shouldn't be like some big epiphany. All we're doing is going back to the natural state. If you've got an irrational fear, and after you've seen the irrational fear's gone, then that's kind of natural state of being. So it's not like it's now I'm free of the fear. And I think the only thing we have to get over our own ego on that, because people are going to say, now I use phenomena, right? So everyone comes in is going to have an experience of hypnosis in my therapy room of some kind. But for the first 5,000 people I saw, I did what I now rudely call relaxotherapy.
I was doing that for 5 years for now. I know the pain.
Yeah, they'd sit in a chair like this, thinking, I don't think I'm in trance, but if I open my eyes, he'll know I'm not in trance and I'll embarrass him. So I'll just sit here and I won't move. And I'll be sitting...
Or nod off.
And I'll be sitting in a chair thinking, if I move, they're going to wake up. And we played that game for the first 5,000 people. But they would go out and they'd quit smoking and they think, I must have been ready to quit because I heard everything he said. I wasn't hypnotised. I must have just been ready to quit. So I want my clients to go out with an undeniable experience of hypnosis. I think in Darren Brown's book, and I only read the first couple of pages, my son had it, but he said when he first started, I think he started out in Bristol, and there was an old card magician who was in this pub he was in. I think that's what got Darren Brown into it. This guy was this great card magician. And and this guy said to him, he said, I want to give people an experience they're going to be talking about 20 years from now. And I want that as well. I want people to have an undeniable experience of hypnosis when they're sitting in the chair looking like this and their arms are stuck in the air, but they're changing. You know, they go out, they can't go out and think, I don't think I was hypnotised. You know, so it's for no other reason, because I want them to know they're being hypnotised. Because otherwise, like you said, it's like, I must have been ready to change. You know, I can't remember having that anxiety. I don't know what I went and see him.
So what do you do? Because people are getting that effect and they don't need to feel like they're in hypnosis, and yet they're not the same person they were when they walked in. Is there something that you sprinkle in to make sure that they know, bloody hell, something has shifted, other than the scaling? In
the first 5 minutes of any pre-talk, I'm going to find an excuse to use finger lock.
Okay, perfect.
For some people, that's the biggest thing. Then I'm going to use what I call past negotiation. So I'm going to use unconscious communication. And at some point, when they're in hypnosis and they've something's going on that they're not in control of, so arms lifting, fingers twitching, whatever it might be, I'm going to get them to open their eyes and have an experience of that. So, and then I'm going to give them a self-hypnosis suggestion there and then. Then I'll just say, close your eyes, go back into hypnosis. So I want them to have that, you know, purely for that reason. Apart from anything else, they're the people who are going to be talking about you and get you more business. It's just, you know, that's what it is. But talking to these doctors, I was saying last weekend, and they're all scientists, you know, they're all evidence. But these top doctors in this College of Medicine, they're saying, we can't keep going on about the evidence because the evidence is in the change. To try and wait till scientific proof of this, when people are walking out without pain, without smoking, without whatever, they're going the other way. They're going in these situations, like things like Reiki and all of these other things, tapping, as you said. where's the science? So, you know, they can say they're acupuncture points, but, you know, it's all to do with the mind. So when it comes to that, I think for me, I've got past worrying about proving this to anyone. There's enough evidence out there. There's enough people that I've seen, enough people you've seen. We know the effectiveness of it, and they know the effectiveness of it, and we can't be worried about it. For me, it's just about my client. You know, I want them to have the outcome, and that's all they're really worried about as well, to be honest.
Oh, Freddie, it was completely a question from ego. I'm well aware of that. It was. I want them to have a holy shit moment, but they're not. They just don't have the fear, or they just don't have anxiety anymore. And it's like because I know that the feeling of progress feels amazing. It's that whole, if you're sitting on the runway in a plane, or you're at 30,000 feet going at 600 miles an hour, feels the same. If you're anxious and then you're not anxious anymore, but if it's, I feel like I'm making progress every week, there's more of a dopamine hit for people if they see progress every week. Whereas
symptom scale, if it's fear or pain, symptom scale. Because that, as I said, you can remember being in pain, you can't remember what it felt like. Same with fear. But, you know, and maybe, you know, if you're working on a personal development thing, obviously if you're working with people on physical goals, it's obvious what's happening. And it's the same with sales or anything else where you go like that. If you went into a company and said, give me your worst, you know, someone they've got markers on where they are at the moment, and, you know, make sure they write down where they are at the moment. So you have to look at you 3 weeks from now and see where we're at. Because otherwise, as you're right, you know, because it's just it's the most natural way of changing. We're not giving them pills and potions and stuff. It's just, that's what's extraordinary about it. Yeah. That you can get such incredible change in such short periods of time. It's just, for me, it's the most miraculous therapeutic tool out there.
I completely agree. Obviously, we're going to be the most biased people in the country there. But if you had to go back to 94, back to 93, and have a word with younger Freddie and say, right, so other than the training, it's not quite what we're after. Is there any advice that you think he could have done with hearing back then to maybe move the needle a little bit more in the right direction?
Right. This has come to me recently. All right. So this is like, I'm going to give this to you and anyone that's listening. I'm really effective, and what I do, I read a book, and I don't even know why I read it, because someone on TikTok was talking about it, and I don't normally, but this book was called Think and Grow Rich, and I'm not even interested in growing rich, right? Because I don't need that much. But I downloaded it as an audio book, and I've not got past chapter 3. In the chapter 3, it's written by a guy called Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
And he says this. He said, when, how does he put it? When faith, bear in mind, I'm not a religious person, but if you use belief as in the same term, when faith is linked to the two most powerful emotions, which is sex and love, it creates an environment that gives power and action to an impulse thought. And I have to read that over and over again. So for me, if anyone's listening, a hypnotherapist, it's not about belief in ourselves, our own ability, that's most important. It's important we train and we do our best, but that's not the most important thing when it comes to helping people change. It's our belief in our client's ability to change. Say it again. It's not belief in ourselves, in our ability. It's belief in our client's ability. Oh, well, let's say to my clients, when you leave it today, the need for a cigarette's gone. When I say you're going to leave it today and that pain's going to be gone, or that fear's going to be gone, or you're going to be free of this doubt, whatever it might be, I believe that and hold it so absolutely, Scott, that I don't give them any space to doubt it. I don't give them any space to doubt. And I think that's the most important thing. If I'd learned it back then, I would have been doing it consciously. I've been doing it unconsciously for years. But that's the difference that makes the difference in what we're doing. trust that your client already has the ability to change. They just don't know it. And you have to trust that, and you have to hold it. That if they're there because they're at threshold and they want to change, and you run the stuff that we're taught, most of us all taught much the same thing, that person. But what's most important is your belief in them. And what I say to my students, and I think it's so important, I say it's difficult to learn as techniques, but it comes from Erickson. It doesn't come from me. I wish it were my words. But he was working with someone who had cancer of the jaw, and they were dying. They were in agony. And so as a last resort, I called Erickson in. Erickson did his magic, and this person was free of the pain. And someone asked Erickson after, he said, did you know you could do that? Erickson said these words, right? And I'd like you to remember, and anyone that's listening to remember this. He said these words, and they're magical. He said, I had my doubts. What I had no doubt about, I could keep my doubts to myself. Oh, it's so important what we do. You got to look at your client thinking, are they bright enough? Are they going to get this? Are they going to quit? You're going to have your doubts. What you must have no doubt about is you can keep your doubts to yourself. Act as if this is absolutely going to happen. Hold that belief so absolutely in your client's ability to change that they don't have any space to doubt it. When I say to people, think about your kid and you're stuck in a chair, I know they have the ability to do that. And if I was to say, and think about, maybe imagine you're stuck in your chair, perhaps you're stuck in your chair, I know it's not going to happen, right? No, you're stuck in a chair and there's nothing you can do about that. So the other thing that I do, and this is, your client comes in, or our clients come in, and the self-suggestion that I've been running for years is I can't do this. I've tried to quit and I can't quit it, right? There's nothing I can do about it. I want to lose weight, but I can't do anything about it. It's just the way it is. I want to quit smoking, I just can't quit. So that's the belief they're running. So I now run that back to them. At the end of my session, I say the need for a cigarette's gone. Imagine that's happened and there's nothing you can do about that.
Nice. Great.
The fear and anxiety is gone. Imagine that's happened and there's nothing you can do about it. The need to comfort, boredom, overeat's gone. Imagine that's happened and there's nothing you can do about that. If that's my last suggestion before I bring them out of hypnosis, or what you want to call it, because I'll never bring my clients out of hypnosis. If they just buy that last suggestion, they're done. Pain's gone. Imagine there's nothing you can do about it.
Brilliant. Freddie, where can people find you?
JacquinHypnosisAcademy.com. That's our training platform. Or we run a 14-day free trial. So they can go on there and they can binge on the 2-day training I did with Mike Mandel. It's all brilliantly filmed and recorded. For free. They can download the arrow technique, the 2-hour arrow technique, which we were selling for hundreds of pounds, for free. And they can do all that stuff. And if they decide to want to train with me, they can join. But JacquinHypnosisAcademy.com. Go and check us out. If you're not already a member, you can join for 14 days. It's FreddyJacquin.com. I'm trying not to do too many one-to-ones. And I've just started a new project. It's a coaching project, really, with a guy in America called Nicholas Spohn. It's called The Ministry of the Mind. So check that out. If you want to check that out on our Facebook as well, The Ministry of the Mind, and join Jacquin Hypnosis Academy. You can join us. All my books are out there on Amazon. So, and my next one's coming out for Christmas.
Yeah, so please tell us about that one.
Right. Well, I've called it The Exquisite Art of Hypnosis and Hypnotherapy, Beyond Techniques and Protocols. So the difference that makes the difference. So I've pretty much given you all of it today, right? What I think is the difference. You can all forget about that and just buy the book.
There we go. There's a suggestion to put at the end. Forget the conversation.
Forget all the tips. No, but that's what I'm trying to teach in the book, called Teaching the Book. But giving the book, what I think is the difference between, we train lots of people, and some people go out and they have all these wonderful skills, and I just don't work with them. For whatever reason, they don't do it. And my thinking is this: once you've got these skills, it becomes your duty to let people know you've got them. It's no longer, well, I don't want to sell myself. I don't want to market myself. I don't believe you have a choice any longer. If you've learned these skills and you put the money out there and done the work to do the training, then you should let people know you were there. The word sell comes from the Norwegian word salje, which means to serve. You have a product or a service, which you and I have, which all your, most of your listeners have. You have a service that's going to enhance someone's life, and you don't let them know you've got it, you're doing every one of those people a disservice. So I would suggest to you that anyone out there that wants to do this as a business, study the marketing as much as you study that hypnotherapy training. It becomes your duty to let people know you're there.
That's it. You answered my last question for me, Freddie, because that's the thing that I wish more people knew, that actually getting someone in front of you and doing work with two very, very different skills.
It is.
And people learn one and then they don't realise there's a whole other.
They're only working when they've got someone in the therapy chair.
Yeah.
If when you start out, you've only got 5 clients a week, that's like, what is that? It's 8 hours work. You should be spending another 30 hours making videos. We hate it, I know. Making the TikTok videos, making the YouTube videos, promoting yourself. Because if people don't know you're there, don't say I don't want to make a video. I hate making videos. We all hate making videos. I don't look at mine. But if you want people to know you were there, and as I said, you have an ability to help people. And if they don't know you're there, you can't help them. You're not working just when you've got someone in a therapy chair. You should get those other skills as well as find out. Everything's out there on YouTube now. There's no reason for you to say, I don't know anything about marketing. You can find out. And, that's my thinking on this. Yeah. Great. What I say is, like, I learned this in the early 90s and I haven't worked since. There's never a day when I think, I've got to go and work. I just don't feel like it. It's such a great opportunity for people, depending where you want to be, to travel, to meet great people, help stacks of people. It's just the best job ever, if you can call it a job.
Yeah, I completely agree. And sorry, I'm so mindful of your time. I'm just having such a good time here.
Summer at 5, but I've got that part now. Yeah, I'm all right.
Okay, no, sorry, we can wrap up shortly. It's going back to that first ever offer where you wrote down, $39, don't quit, you don't pay. I remember when I had my portfolio in, there was this whole thing of why we shouldn't offer guarantees as a hypnotherapist, because it might not attract the right kind of people. And I think that's the biggest concern, that most people who don't know what to expect from hypnotherapy, when they come in, what if it doesn't work? I know everything you said there about certainty. When you were offering guarantees, I don't know if you still offer guarantees, was there a time limit to it? Was it at the end of the session, if you feel no different, you're not paying? Or if someone came back to you a week or a month or 6 months later?
There was no end limit to it. That wasn't a good strategy. That wasn't a good strategy. And the reason I stopped doing it, because it was a guy, he'd been seeing me in a group session. They paid maybe 50 quid to quit smoking. And 4 years later, after saving £12,000, probably having a bad day with Christmas coming up, and he thought, I know. And he rang me and said, it's one of my girls in the office. And he said, I've started smoking again. And I said, do you want to come and see Freddy again? He said, no, I like my money back. And I rudely said, well, tell him to bend over and I'll post it to him. But I did send him his money, because I'd said I would. But, but it's just, and by then I had an association, people were doing the same thing, and it all got a bit out of hand. So I kind of stopped. But I still think, and I'm still a thought in my mind to do it again, because it's a bit more difficult trying to do those offers on Facebook, because they don't. And if you're using things like PayPal to take the money, if it's guaranteed, there's a lot all kinds of stuff you've got to go through. But otherwise, I would do it for sure, especially for smoking. In 2006, and this will scare you, I had 2 girls working full time taking the bookings, because there was no internet then, or on the phones. I saw just under 5,000 people, as I said to you. I refunded, and you're going to fall off your chair when I say this, right? I refunded
I think I know the number.
£80,000. I refunded. I gave my girls, I give one day too young to know what a checkbook is, but they had 2 blank checkbooks all signed. And if someone phoned up and said, yeah, I was definitely there, and I haven't quit, I'd like the money back, they would just write the money out and send it, right? I didn't want to look at it. But that sounds terrible, but I took just up under $500,000 that year. So you've got to put it in percentage, and I think that percentage is like still over 72% of people quitting, which is pretty miraculous, really. So I would do it again, because people said, why did you do that? I said, well, if I had a leaking tap, and I phoned a plumber up, and he said it's like £90 an hour. He comes round and he fiddles about with it for half an hour, and it's still leaking. He says that's £90. I'll be reluctant to pay it. So I think that's how I felt about the smoking. If someone's paid me the money, I felt like at that point in time, I thought, they haven't quit, so that's on me. Yeah. We can say, well, maybe they weren't ready or whatever other reason. But when I was doing that, and I would still, if it was easier to do it and guarantee it, I'd still do it. If it was easier to do it online, I would still do it, because as a marketing, it's a phenomenal way of marketing it. Yeah. You're saying I am really good at this, and I'm so sure you're going to quit that if you don't, I will give you your money back.
Amazing. Freddy, it's been such a blast being able to speak to you. I think, I don't know if I've mentioned it on the camera, but I mentioned it to you before we started recording, that I trained as a hypnotherapist, I think coming on maybe 9 years, if that's a long time compared to you. But about 9 years ago, but I didn't really start learning hypnosis until I started delving into your work after I qualified. So thank you for everything that you've given to the world of hypnosis. It certainly made a difference in me and also my clients' lives, and also the other therapists that we've got as part of the clinics. So I just wanted to thank you publicly as well for your service, because it's just, even though you might, and I know this when people comment on YouTube comments as well, sometimes it can be easy to become dissociated for the knock-on effect that you have for people, unless someone's really saying something to you face-to-face or virtually face-to-face to really recognize the difference that you can make. So I just wanted to, hopefully that will land a little bit harder than a YouTube comment for you.
Appreciate that. I appreciate it. As I said, I have bad moments of beating myself up over the things I've done and the things I do. But when I do that, I kind of remind myself there are people out there out of pain because it's an idea I had. There are people out of fear, and so I have to kind of remind myself that I have done something of value. Kind of balance out all the rubbishy things I've done.
Yeah. But give another statement, but sure, yeah. He's done something.
It's really good for me. Well, hopefully we'll meet in person one day.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Thanks ever so much. And then everyone else, check out Freddy's books, check out the Academy, and obviously check out the new book that should hopefully come out in the next month or two.
Thanks a lot. Cheers. Great to meet you.